G'day, Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now this video is about Prime Minister Scott Morrison, his pre-selection in 2007 for the Sydney seat of Cook, where originally he lost the ballot. So he ran a dirt campaign with the help of Sam Dastyari and the Labor Party, and had a person called Michael Toke totally defamed by the Sydney Telegraph. So he had collusion there with the Murdoch press as well, and eventually Michael Toke was forced to move on, and I suppose the rest is history. Now the reason I'm recording this video is because further evidence has come to hand. I originally wrote about it in 2019, but the further evidence that's come to hand is a speech given by Senator Fierravanti-Wells a couple of days ago on the 29th of March in the Senate, where she spoke about it. And also I've come across a interview where Prime Minister Scott Morrison was ducking and weaving, lying like he normally does. So first of all, let's have a look at what Senator Fierravanti-Wells has said about this situation.
Senator Fierravanti-Wells.
Many in this place would be aware of the history I've had with Scott Morrison. Let me give some clarity and context to that history so there can be no misunderstanding. In order to understand the man, it is best to look at his past actions. While professing to be a man of faith and claiming centre-right status, Morrison is a product of the left, having worked for Bruce Baird. He is adept at running with the foxes and hunting with the hounds, lacking the moral compass and having no conscience. His actions conflict with his portrayal as a man of faith. He has used his so-called faith as a marketing advantage. We learnt the leader of his Hillsong church group, Brian Houston, was a mentor to Morrison. Houston recently stood down as head of Hillsong because he was charged with sexual offences. It is noteworthy that in the past, Houston flew top cover for his pedophile father. When Morrison worked for Tourism Australia, he backstabbed his minister, Fran Bailey. Eventually, he was fired from the position. As State Director of the New South Wales Division of the Liberal Party, Morrison honed his manipulative skills when overseeing the Wentworth pre-selection to unseat Peter King. About 120 membership applications were rejected to help Turnbull get selected, the person Morrison ultimately backstabbed. Morrison might profess to be Christian, but there was nothing Christian about what was done to Michael Toke. When Morrison made his run for the seat of Cook, there were several hopefuls, including Toke, Fletcher and Coleman. Toke won the ballot on the first round with 84 votes. Morrison got 8 votes. Having lost the ballot, Morrison and his cronies went to Sam Dastyari to get dirt on Toke, who had been in the Labor Party for a period of time whilst at university. This dossier of anecdotes was weaponised and leaked to the media to the point where Toke's reputation was destroyed. I'm advised that there are several statutory declarations to attest to racial comments made by Morrison at the time that we can't have a Lebanese person in Cook. The state executive voted 12-11 not to endorse Toke and ordered a modified selection process. The only way that Toke could get political exoneration for a future run was to agree to put his numbers behind Morrison. Morrison met with David Clark and I and promised various things. Of course, he took our votes and never delivered. After the selection, Toke joined my staff. He subsequently also sued the newspapers for defamation. He won his cases, but this was cold comfort. Morrison, his cronies and the Liberal establishment in New South Wales had destroyed a good young man. I regret the day that Clark and I agreed to put Morrison into Cook. Since then, Morrison has never faced a pre-selection. Hence the trampling of members' rights in New South Wales and denying them proper pre-selections and installing captain's picks is classic Morrison. By now, you might be getting the picture that Morrison is not interested in the rules-based order. It is his way or the highway, an autocrat, a bully who has no moral compass. In my public life, I have met ruthless people. Morrison tops the list, followed closely by Hawke. Morrison is not fit to be Prime Minister, and Hawke certainly is not fit to be a minister.
Now what she just said then was part of a 10-minute speech. I've edited it down. You can find the whole 10-minute speech on my YouTube channel or on the my website in an article I published on the 29th of March 2022, and it certainly is worth watching the whole 10 minutes. She certainly doesn't miss Scott Morrison and the Liberal Party. Now, let's have a look at what Sam Dastyari said in 2019, where he basically told the whole story of how Michael Toke was totally defamed with his help. His argument was that, I suppose, causing a drama within the Liberal Party, and they didn't mind helping that out. But he certainly unloads on Scott Morrison as well. Now, by itself, the argument is that, the argument that some people would put there as well, that Sam Dastyari, and he's probably lying. But that's been verified by what you just heard from Senator Fierravanti-Wells. Now, so let's have a listen to Sam Dastyari.
Finally, how Scott Morrison actually became a Member of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, he would have got voted in, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, but in most states, and most seats in Parliament, it doesn't really matter the Labor-Liberal contest. There's safe Labor seats, safe Liberal seat.
Right.
Scott Morrison went for pre-selection in a very safe Liberal seat of Cook, which is the Shire. Really
Right.
conservative kind of part of the Shire. He beat a guy called Michael Toke to get the pre-selection. But in the first count, when they first had the ballot and first had the numbers, Michael Toke got 82 votes, Scott Morrison got 8. Now,
Well, how did he win then?
Well, actually, do you want to just pull up the thing? So, and Michael Toke, who was this Lebanese Christian community leader, right? That straight after the pre-selection, there was a media and an internal Liberal Party campaign to overturn the result, and it got overturned, and Morrison got made the candidate.
Hang on, but the guy got 80-something%.
Yeah, he got 82 at 8. Well, this is the bit that has never been told before. Scott Morrison's lieutenants, and I'm sure with Scott Morrison's knowledge, turned to the Labor Party and asked them to prepare the dirt file on his political opponent to be able to get rid of the guy and actually have him disendorsed as Liberal Party candidate.
Really?
I know this because I was the one who put the file together.
You put it together?
I put the file together, right? Because part of what they were doing, right?
This is a big deal.
I put the file together. So the file was, okay. So one of the two reasons they stated when they got rid of this guy as the candidate was, quote, Mr. Toke covered up the extent of his involvement with Labor in the 1990s. Right? This guy was once a Labor Party member.
He was a Labor Party member,
Years
and then he swapped over to Liberal.
By 2007, he went to Liberal Party. That happens from time to time.
Yeah.
They wanted to get rid of him. They needed to they wanted to try and show that he'd lied.
Right.
They'd asked the Labor Party, Morrison's people asked the Labor Party to put together a dirt file, effectively, on this bloke.
Dirt file?
I put it together. I went down to Golden Century Chinese restaurant, Sussex Street, Sydney.
Your mates down there, the Chinese,
handed it over to Morrison's people, right? Morrison's factional lieutenants.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not, they then did, the bit that amazed me by it, the way they weaponised it. Right? Mainly it was anecdotes about his involvement in the Labor Party, a few stories here and there, things that have been gathered together.
Wasn't too much dirt, though.
The way they weaponised it, they had decided. I mean, Scott Morrison was a really powerful guy in the Liberal Party. He used to be the state director of the Liberals. He was a big power broker in their party. The way they were able to use this information and the way they were able to weaponise it. I mean, there's no one pussyfooting around this. The PM only became a Member of Parliament because he used the Labor Party to knock off his political internal opponents. Wow. I've never seen that. Like, I never thought he'd be PM. I never thought he'd be PM because I thought, this is always going to come out. This story about this pre-selection, about what he did to...
And you're the guy that did it.
Look,
you're the one they went to.
In 2007, the Liberal... I was kind of the young organiser. This is what I did, right? Look, again, this is how... I don't want people to be kind of underneath diligent. The thing about this segment is we say what really happens. We say what really goes on. I'm actually... Michael Toke deserves an apology, right? I'm going to apologise to him, right?
Now?
Now, I will apologise to Michael Toke. I think the Prime Minister deserves to give this guy an apology. I've seen a lot of dirty things in politics.
This is dirty.
Pre-selections get very, very dirty. Right?
But you've never seen this happen before?
I've never had the Liberal Party come to us and ask for dirt to fight one of their own internal opponents.
And then to dethrone that guy for ScoMo to become the
Well, this guy
member.
won. This guy. If you actually just click on his profile,
Sam, why was Michael Toke so much more popular than Scott Morrison?
Well, look,
like in the first pre-selection.
so if you look there, he describes himself husband, father, engineer, proud Lebanese Australian. Won the 2007 Liberal pre-selection for Cook, beating Scott Morrison 82 votes to 8, which is true. And then it got overturned. Look,
How do they overturn that? With
they
the
went to
dirt
state.
file?
Well, they effectively said that they called him a branch stacker. They went through his history. By the way, they dumped a whole bunch of media stories against him, which he sued and got a $100,000 settlement for afterwards.
Right, but
they
they never got back his
the
spot.
biggest dirt campaign, and I've been around
On their
some
own
dirt
party
campaigns.
member.
Of course, that's where it gets really vicious. The thing is, and I've been saying this, I would never underestimate Scott Morrison, because I would never underestimate a guy who would turn to his political opponents to take out one of his own. A guy that will do that will do anything. And mate, this is not a guy to be underestimated, right? I mean, if you're going to do that, right, there is no line that you won't kind of cross. And
But see, I kind of like the anything to win attitude. I run by the anything to win attitude, so
Imagine
I sort
if
of
you
admire
were,
it.
What if you were
whilst-
Michael Toke, though?
Oh, I would hate it if I was Michael.
If you're on the receiving
Michael
end of
Toke won a pre-selection,
Yeah.
had the numbers.
And it's not even like it was close. It was
No.
Let's be
streets
fair.
ahead.
Scott Morrison and his lieutenants fired the gun. What is unbelievable is they got the Labor Party to give them the bullets.
And
Right, that was you.
I've never, it's just never, this is why I never thought he'd be PM.
Right.
I just thought, oh, well, the story of this pre-selection, by the way, Scott Morrison to this day will not ever speak of the pre-selection.
Oh, no doubt some journalist
Wonder
somewhere is
why.
going to ask a question now.
Let him, right? He always just says, oh, there was issues with the candidate. They went through this guy's history. They said he had a
His
security
internet
company.
history or just his history?
No, his history. He had a security company, so they kind of tried to downplay, say, oh, I was just a security guy, he kind of ran a business. They
Right.
went after his degrees. The assassination they did, like, I've seen some brutal stuff in thing, but the fact that it even come to the late, I remember at the time we were thinking, geez, this guy's ruthless.
And even now, like, we all love you, Sam, obviously, but for Scott Morrison to have used Sam Dastyari,
I know.
the disgraced Labor senator,
Yeah.
to
The
rise
former
to power.
disgraced
Former
Labor
disgrace. Now soon to be TV host,
That's
hopefully.
right.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable
Well,
stuff,
that's
though,
a
right?
big story.
Well,
there,
mate, that's
Sam.
And you admit to putting the file together to help your political enemy overthrow someone from within.
Look, to create disunity with
you
the
get
Liberal
paid for
Party.
that?
No, look, I worked for the Labor Party, but to create disunity. Look, let's be honest. Why political parties do this, right?
Yeah.
Enemy of your enemy is your friend. The Liberal Party tearing itself apart is hardly. And mate, to be honest, the file was mostly just anecdotes. Of
It
his
wasn't even
involvement in
that
Labor.
much.
It wasn't that much, but the way they weaponized it, the professionalism of it. Look,
They
honestly,
spun it into something real.
the professionalism of the hit they did on this Michael Toke guy, I have never seen in politics.
What's Michael Toke do now?
Mate, look, there's a couple of media stories. Someone should get in touch with him. I understand there was a story about him in the Australian in the middle of May. Peter Van Elsen had written he'd moved on with his life. I think he was shattered afterwards.
Right, as you would be.
He won a really big defamation suit because the stories they'd spread so many lies
All
about
lies.
him. All lies. And now
Poor
Scott
bloke.
Morrison is the Prime Minister of Australia.
Unbelievable.
And he will not speak of this pre-selection. Just watch. There'll be some journalists that'll ask him today, how did you actually win that pre-selection? Where did that... Because here is the proof. The information and the anecdotes they use about his involvement in the Labor Party could only have come from the Labor Party.
Well, you did it, so that's proof enough. It's not like you're repeating a story you heard. You were involved.
And there was nowhere else for this stuff to have come from.
You're always involved in the dodgy stuff.
That's why I'm on your show, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
That's why I'm on
I
your
think
show.
that's incredible story. That's big news
That
today
is,
politically.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Now, and more importantly, too,
Now that's what you heard Sam Dastyari say in 2019. I've also come across a interview that Prime Minister Scott Morrison did in 2018, where he spoke about it. Initially he lied, said he was won the pre-selection, but he does that, he'll lie, and unless the journalist knows the details and can ask specific questions, he'll just keep on lying. Now this particular journalist, I don't know who it was, but they obviously knew the details and they started digging down, and so Scott Morrison started ducking and weaving a bit more. Claimed he won it in a legitimate pre-selection ballot. Well, that's based on what Sam Dastyari said, and what Senator Fierravanti-Wells has said is a total lie. I think there's a lot more questions that need to be answered there, but given Scott Morrison's Prime Minister, I doubt that he's going to be answering, and he'll probably only be Prime Minister a little bit longer, maybe another couple of months. So let's have a listen to what Scott Morrison says.
How can you say a rank and file pre-selection can't be overturned, yet your very own one was in Cook? The candidate says he was forced to bid to make way for you. Isn't that hypocritical by yourself?
Well, your record of that event is completely wrong.
So the rank and file pre-selection...
I won a pre-selection back then. I stood for pre-selection. I was successful at the pre-selection. It was done by a pre-selection of both local and central component members in accordance with the New South Wales Constitution. So you should check your facts before you ask the questions. No, there wasn't. There was a rank and file pre-selection. There was a rank and file pre-selection.
So the pre-selected candidate wasn't forced to resign?
There were issues with that candidate at the time.
What were those issues?
Well, you can go back and check over the record. And let me just stress, that was done by the New South Wales division of the Liberal Party. Divisions handle their own pre-selections. So I entered Parliament, selected by my party, and have been pleased to represent my party at every election since then. Canberra shouldn't interfere in state pre-selections. They didn't interfere on that occasion. Those decisions were taken by New South Wales division, and a further pre-selection was held, of which I was successful.
So you wouldn't be opposed to the yelling interfering in a pre-selection?
Canberra shouldn't be telling Queensland what to do.
So you've heard it there from Senator Fierravanti-Wells, you've heard Sam Dastyari saying what he said, and you've also seen Scott Morrison ducking and weaving. Once he starts ducking and weaving, you know there's a lot more questions that need to be answered. Other than that, I'll be publishing an article in relation to the video in the next couple of days on my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia. So make sure you visit the website, sign up for the free email subscription, and you'll be the first to know when I publish a new article. And make sure you share it on social media such as Twitter and Facebook and other social media. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.